Growing a family law firm is hard. The marketplace is so crowded, offering clients tons of choices. And if you want to break out of the pack and have a consistently profitable family law firm with high margins, you need a competitive advantage. In this video, I will address three things. Number one, why at least one competitive advantage is crucial. Two, identifying your firm's advantages. And three, deploying those advantages to win. My name is Jeff Hughes, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Sterling Lawyers. We are a family law firm with 25 plus attorneys doing over 15 million in revenue. And I share what's working and what's not working in our practice with hopes that you can take that and you can recontextualize it and build the family law practice of your dreams. So let me take you back to 2009, and I was in financial pain. You see, the year prior to that, in 2008, early that year, I invested a lot of money in a new startup that me and my team were starting called Nationwide Home Improvement. And the idea of this business was to create leads for contractors, for homeowners who wanted their windows replaced, who wanted siding on their house, or who needed a new roof. And the idea was we were good at marketing. We were going to generate these leads and we were going to turn around and we were going to sell them to contractors. And you know what? It started off pretty well. And that was 2008. Now, if I could take you back to 2008, you might remember what happened in that year. We had a housing collapse and a subsequent financial crisis here in America. And that whole experience in the greater economy took my business down. And by 2009, it was bankrupt. And I was sitting with Bobby Martin, my mentor, at his ranch in Arkansas. We were sitting by the fire and he was helping me unpack that whole experience. And he asked me about the business. He said, Jeff, as you went into that business, what was your advantage? What was the thing that you did better than everyone else that you knew you could rely on to win? And he asked me this question, and I thought I had answers to it, but I didn't have any answers to it. I had a bunch of baloney answers, made up things that weren't really that significant, and I shared them and he shot them down. And I went away from that conversation with this deep conviction that no matter what I did going forward, I was going to have a seriously strong competitive advantage, and that we were going to identify and know what that was so we could leverage it to win. So that was 2009. So let's go 5 years later. It's 2014, right about the same time of the year, and Tony Carlson and I were talking about and planning toward the launch of Sterling Lawyers. I remember having the conversation with Tony that I had with Bobby Martin, and we just wrestled with this, and we wanted to identify what were our super strong competitive advantage that we knew we could rely on to win the game. So number one, the advantage of having a competitive advantage. And for us, our first one and most important one, the one that actually we still rely on today that has sustained us, is that we are really good at digital marketing. We are really good at getting the attention of potential clients. And namely, Tony's good at those things. And we felt like with the two of us combining our resources and our abilities and leveraging that marketing capacity, that would give our firm a major competitive advantage. But we also felt like that was good, but it probably wasn't enough. Because Bobby said it'd be great if you had one, necessary if you had one, but even better if you had two. And for us, we felt like treating the law firm like a business and not a practice would give us a competitive advantage. We felt like that was our second competitive advantage. Now we're 10 years in. Looking back, we were right on number one, not so much on number two. And I think it wasn't enough. I think it's nice to do that, to treat your firm like a business. It's critical, it's necessary, of course, but we weren't very good at it. That was the thing. So we had what we thought was an advantage, but we weren't that great at it. It took us years to become more competent in that particular area. Now, that was 10 years ago. Since then, we have added more advantages. And those additional advantages stacked together have given us a set of competitive advantage that has made our firm more and more profitable with better margins. That first major advantage helped us grow. The marketing capacity, the ability to get attention, that sustained us for a decade. That helped us grow to where we got to by 23 and 24. But over time, we have layered on more advantages. Let me share with you what those are, okay? It took us a couple years, but we developed fixed fee, and that became an advantage for us because clients, we found that really resonated with them. They want to have certainty around their fees. And when we developed the capacity to do that, to sell that, to execute on that, that gave us a competitive advantage. That was number 2 or number 3, depending how you want to count that, okay? Also, in 2016, we pivoted exclusively to family law. You know what? That resonated with clients as well. You stack that together. Now we're up to 3 or 4, right? Depending if you want to give us that business one. Maybe let's count that, okay? All right, because we got better at it. So eventually became 1 for us. So we're up to 4 now, all right? We also felt like, you know what? Clients really connect with social proof. They want to know that other clients have had great experiences with your firm. So we put a ton of attention into building social proof by way of testimonials. Today, we've got just under 10,000 public testimonials and reviews of our firm. That's a moat. That's an advantage. All right. So that has given us an advantage. Well, so now we're up to 5. So the more advantages that we have added over the years, the stronger and the more profitable, more consistent our firm has become. And today, now we're at scale, right? We have enough size where, for example, I can step out of the day-to-day management of the practice where I'm at today. Now I'm sitting squarely and more in R&D, like I'm looking at future-focused things. And because of our scale, we now can carve out a budget. Our budget's 3% of our firm's revenue is spent on R&D. And so that's where I get to sit today. Now that scale has given us that another advantage. That size has given, and not just there, but it gives us advantages in recruiting. It gives us a little bit of buying power in certain things. It gives us marketing advantages because now we can test faster. We can get decisions quicker. We can make strategies prove profitable or unprofitable quicker when it comes to marketing. We can scale out a sales team. So it gives us a whole bunch of advantages. But it started with one that we stacked on and layered on. That, my friends, is the advantage of having a competitive advantage and then stacking more on top of that. Hello, Jeff here. My team and I have built a family law practice resource website at jsterlinghughes.com. That's jsterlinghughes.com. And it is loaded with all kinds of information and downloads and educational content to help you build the family law practice of your dreams. So if you haven't, please go to my website, subscribe to the newsletter, and I promise each week I'll send you valuable content that will help you build a beautiful law firm, as well as share with you news and developments happening around the United States that impact the practice of family law. So number 2, identifying your family law firm's competitive advantages. Now I've seen these in various forms in law firms. So I'm just going to run through this list with you because I'm hopeful that it may jog some creative thinking on your side. You may see that in your practice and realize, hey, that's something I could cultivate into an advantage. So this is a fairly long list. Let's start first with one of the most obvious, and that's a reputation in the community. I have seen some attorneys who have such an outstanding reputation within the community, among attorneys in particular, and they've built that over many years. And today it's like it's an insurmountable moat around their law firm to have that type of reputation and network within the community. So that's really certainly one you'll see quite a bit. Another one is marketing ability. Our firm certainly leveraged that. I didn't have a reputation or a network at all when we started our firm, but I did have access to marketing abilities, not necessarily within me, but within my partner at the time, still today, Tony. So another one would be contractual advantage. So this could look like having a contract with a local county to do all of their guardian ad litem work or a portion of their guardian ad litem work or some other type of legal work that's related to family law there. You can have this with an insurance company that sends leads. I've seen that certainly being something that's served as an advantage for lawyers. I've also seen fathers' rights. We've all seen these firms, right, that really focuses on one gender fathers, and they try to leverage that and build out a whole brand around fathers' rights. I've seen conversely on mothers' rights, same thing, where I've seen firms build out a thriving practice and they've leveraged that to create an advantage within the marketplace around that particular brand. I've seen firms take a small geography, right? A small town or a medium-sized town, and they've kind of drawn a line around that and said, I'm going to own this town when it comes to legal work. and they just do everything they can to just dominate in that one space. And they create really nice practices doing that. Location can certainly be an advantage. It depends on traffic patterns and a lot of factors that go into that, but location can become an advantage for a practice. Certainly being exclusive in a particular area. And like for our firm, we're exclusively in family law, but you can niche down within family law. You can say, I'm only going to do divorce, or I'm only going to do high conflict custody cases, or I'm only going to do mediation. So you can take a practice area and niche that all the way down. You can do just businesses, for example. I've seen firms make a really big deal out of having dedicated child custody specialists, and they just beat on that. It becomes a really big part of their marketing message, and it's really helped them attract clients who are looking for that particular type of expertise. I've seen firms, some of these larger firms have in-house forensic accountants for financial disputes. That's a really unique advantage. It's certainly small niche, but I'm sure it's high profit to have that expertise on staff. I've seen attorneys focus just on collaborative, and that becomes an advantage for them because they build a reputation in that particular practice area. They're known for it. They do salees on it. Expertise in international custody disputes. I know there's a firm down in Florida that focuses on international custody disputes, and we're talking $1 million cases per case. So that's a very unique advantage that they enjoy, and they've got a worldwide network, I believe, that funnels them cases. So it's been something that they've honed and cultivated for many years. I've seen firms focus just on high net worth divorces. I've seen firms have a big practice area in military divorces. I've seen firms have an expertise in grandparents' rights cases and put out a lot of content just on grandparents' rights, and they've built an advantage in that particular area. I've certainly seen expertise in family-owned businesses versus, professionally owned businesses. There's a lot of unique dynamics that go into family-owned businesses and folks getting a divorce as a part of that. So I've seen that. I've seen specialization in prenups and postnups. I know there's a firm down in Florida with Aaron Thomas. They focus just on prenups and postnups. I've seen dedicated estate planning services for divorcing couples. So divorce folks going through a divorce, and then practices that serve just those people. Now you can imagine those attorneys network heavily with family attorneys. And I'm sure that's a really, really interesting high margin practice. And we've all seen this, right? Multilingual staff serving diverse clienteles that speak multiple different languages, whether that be Spanish. I know in Chicago, there's a number of areas or a number of practices that have Polish speaking or some other Eastern European type language as a part of their services. Fixed fee, we do that. That's one of our advantages. Or other novel fee ideas. There's a lot of ways you can create a relationship with a client for fees, and that can become an advantage. I know practices that just focus on mediation, that they only do mediation. That's their whole practice, and they've built out a really nice firm around that particular thing in family law. I've seen flexible payment plans be a real driver. Now, that's high volume practice probably, but it certainly can be an advantage to do that, to have flexible payment plans and low cost of entry and that sort of thing. I've seen firms employ really attractive, head-scratching employee perks as a means to attract employees to their firm, and that becomes something they use as an advantage for recruiting. I'm just probably scratching the surface for how you can create advantage. Now, as I went through these, some of these can be standalone advantages, right? Some of them you probably need to stack with others, but stay focused on those. Right now, our firm is working on an AI enablement tool, blending humans with AI to serve clients in a different way. That might become an advantage for us down the road. I don't know, it's TBD, too early on that right now. But another idea I think some firms going to do at some point is they're gonna create a case outcome prediction tool. They're gonna take all of the data and cases in a particular county or state, and they're gonna run that all through an AI tool and overlay that with how particular judges rule, and they're gonna create a prediction tool for how a case is gonna turn out. That's gonna happen at some point. That'll be really cool. I would love if we could do that at some point. I know that having a really comprehensive and easy to use mobile app can create a significant advantage. I've been wanting to do that for years. We've not executed on that yet. So hopefully that'll happen in 26 for us. We're working toward that, at least on the drawing board right now. Maybe having a firm with having in-house life coaches for clients, support groups, and that sort of thing, I think is another idea that I haven't seen, but I think could work. Okay, so that's some help or some ideas on identifying your firm's particular advantage. So let me shift gears. And how do you take the advantage or advantages that you have and deploy those to best effect? So I've got like 7 thoughts and experiences to share around this. 1, not all advantages are created equal. Okay, so having 1 or 2 advantages, that doesn't mean you have enough. Like we had 1 major one that was enough to help us grow. Our marketing prowess, that was enough to help us grow, but it wasn't enough to make us consistently profitable with good margins. We needed more. It wasn't until we started adding more advantages that we could build up to that. Okay, so not all advantages are created equal. Also, as a part of that, you may need to pivot away from an advantage. We thought our business acumen and our leadership ability would be a major advantage. Well, it was nice. Over time, it got better, but it wasn't enough. And we needed to kind of pivot away from any sort of focus on that. 2, advantages can be more than just client-centered. They can be employee-centered around culture, leadership, people. That gets like, if you're really good at recruiting and you've built a great culture, that can certainly be a significant advantage. You have a good culture, generally you're going to serve clients really well. And that's going to create an advantage for you there. You can have financial advantages, meaning you could have a really good bankroll to help you try and do new things. To some extent, we had some of that when we began. We could afford to lose money for a while as we tested and tried out new things. 3, when it comes to deploying your advantages, it's not as important to know that you have an advantage, okay? It's important to know why that is a particular advantage for you. So let me say that in a different way. Let me go back about 12 years. I went to Northwestern University in Chicago for a 4-day workshop on business strategy. This is before we started the law firm. And we had these really thick binders with really smart professors. And I don't remember anything out of that except one thing. And the one thing I remember the most from that 4-day experience was the instructor repeating over and over again, it's not important to know that you have an advantage. It's critically important to know why that is an advantage for you. Okay, so as you're thinking about deploying your firm's advantages, the things you think may be an advantage may not be, and those things that are, it's so important to understand why they're an advantage. Why does the marketplace react like they do that gives you that advantage? Why do team members react like they do that then creates an advantage for your firm? So number 4, the smaller the niche, the tighter the niche, the wider your reach needs to be, meaning the communication about that niche needs to be wider. Okay, let me go to number 5. It's the opposite of that. So the bigger the niche. So like if you're in men or you're going to serve just women, well, you can have a smaller communication reach for that. You could be just in your little community, not even in your town, but just within your community, if that's going to be your niche. Okay, so the smaller the niche, the wider your reach needs to be. The bigger your niche that you're in, that you're going to play in, meaning you're going to have more competitors in that niche, the smaller your reach needs to be. Number 6, once you identify your advantage or advantages preferably, right? Go deep within those, stay with them. Allow time and positioning in the marketplace to do its thing. There is a compounding effect to sticking with something for the long haul. Now, you got to pick the right niches. You got to focus on the right ones in the beginning. But if you do that, if you can stay with them for the long term and be known for those things, there's a compounding effect that comes from that. And it's very, very healthy on a firm. It's very enjoyable too. All right, 7. I've talked about this already, but layer your advantages when you can. Over time, as you build out one advantage, you're going to naturally find advantages that are complementary to that you can build out as well. And the more of those you can build out and layer on and stack together, the more secure your firm is going to be, the more profitable it will be, the easier it will be to manage and grow your firm, the more advantages you can create. But I have found that they need to be complementary and they need to kind of interconnect to get the full power out of them. So I hope that's helpful to you. I hope that jogs some thinking, some creativity in your mind and thinking about how advantages work in a law firm. And if you found value here, let me point you to another podcast that I did that's very complementary to this. And it's called The 3 Barriers That Stop Family Law Firms from Scaling. And you could go to that podcast right here by clicking here if you're on YouTube. And I hope that's helpful to you.